From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. I am indeed Nick Barris. It's Thursday. You know, we did open phones on Wednesdays. So today, we're doing a show that I think a lot of people, even here in the newsroom, are going to be watching because we've had folks, including myself, out. I still have a little scratchy throat. I'm not sick. It's allergies. A couple weeks ago, I actually missed a couple days of work because of the allergies. I lost my voice. Had to go get a cortisone shot to get the swelling to go down and to get back to work in a timely fashion. And it's odd because I had gone 2 or 3 years without that happening, and then all of a sudden, boom, what's changed? My body, the pollen or whatever? I lost my voice for the first time in 3 or 4 years. So what changes? What's going on out there? How are you handling your allergies? Do you have any home remedies that work for you? If not, or if you're looking for one, or how to treat it, or if you have questions like I do, and I have a bunch, even though allergies have been around forever, you'll want to join in the conversation. The number up on the screen, and indeed, as you see there, it is allergy season. Dr. John Overholt is with us. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Nick.
He is an allergy doctor.
That's correct.
An allergist.
An allergist, yes.
An allergist with the Allergy, Asthma, and Sinus Center here in town. It's good to have you on.
Thanks.
Do you have allergies?
I do.
You do?
I do, yes.
Bad ones? Or what's someone who has bad allergies and someone who just has regular allergies in your mind?
You know, there's a spectrum of severity, certainly, with allergies and complications that can occur from allergies. But really, for nasal allergies, that classic sort of hay fever, sinus problems, it sort of depends on the intensity and the duration of the problem. Some people get a little runny nose in the spring and fall, take a little over-the-counter antihistamine, and they're good to go. And some people have it year-round, have to take medications all the time, and some people develop complications from their allergies, like sinus infections and headaches and lots of other problems that go along with it.
Of course,
so that's the sort of severity spectrum. So.
And when we're talking about there's allergies, you could have people who are allergic to bee stings that can kill you if you have a swelling of your throat. So some can be deadly.
Or dangerous food allergies, peanuts, this sort of thing.
Okay, have you ever met anyone? Well, I'm sure there are people out there that, for whatever, don't have any allergies at all.
Oh, absolutely.
Or is it fair to say that somewhere, somehow, everyone has some kind of reaction to something?
No, even in the people that we see in our office, who are a selected population, people who are coming in with symptoms that could be consistent with allergies, only about 50% of people really test positive. A lot of people come in and they think it's allergies. Okay. They've been treating it like it's allergies. They're not getting anywhere with that. We test them, find out that they're absolutely non-allergic, and that allows you to move down a different road and maybe focus on a different issue. Is this sinusitis? Is this an irritant-induced problem? And so the testing is really important in defining who's allergic and who's not, because sometimes people are really banging their head against a wall trying to get better, but they've just been going down the wrong road.
That's interesting. Boy, I wish I was one of the people with no allergies. I don't have bad ones either. What am I complaining about?
Allergies actually are kind of sometimes easier to treat.
Sure, than the other stuff. Well, I'm just saying people that don't have allergies and don't have any of these other things. I don't mean people coming into you, but there's people probably walking around out there who have never had to go to the doctor for an allergy, and literally they're immune to all this stuff in our environment for whatever reason. They're just lucky that way.
I guess so.
All right, let me ask you this, just as you heard what I said at the beginning of the show, and the phone lines are open, your chance to ask some free questions. When I say free, this doc's here free of charge. You don't have to pay a copay this morning or cover a deductible. But is there anything different in your mind about this allergy season for some? I just noticed in our newsroom, which is where I hang out, that for me, for the first time in 3 or 4 years, I used to have this happen. It went away, and boom, I got nailed losing my voice. And we have several people in the newsroom who were just saying, gosh, something all of a sudden hit us a little different than usual. Any idea?
It's the same sort of, pollen allergies, which are the seasonal allergens, occur pretty predictably. Trees in the spring, grass in the summer, weeds in the fall. But the intensity and the duration and the timing of those symptoms is different based on weather patterns and such. And so this year we did have a long sort of dry spell, so there was nothing really to clean the ragweed pollen out of the air, and so we had this really long duration of a very high weed pollen during this fall season. So this, for some people, may have been a lot worse than previous years, because when it rains, it really just sort of cleans the pollen out of the air for a while. It dries up, the pollen comes back, and so we really didn't have that for a big chunk of time.
When we say allergy season, we have that up there. I guess technically right now kind of it is. When I think allergy season, I really think of the spring.
Yeah, it's always allergy season in our office.
Okay, it always is. All right. Well, is there a month out of the year, based on the seasonal conditions we have, that you consider to be the least allergy prone? Now, I'm guessing when it's freezing in the middle of February.
Usually in the dead of winter. When it's really, really cold is when there's the lowest amount of allergies. But there are still year-round allergens like mold spores and such for outdoor allergens, and of course there are indoor allergens as well. Dust mites and animal danders. So for those people who are indoors more during those times of year, that can be a worse season.
Okay, so it can be season year-round. All right. Well, listen, we're going to get into a lot of it. We're going to talk about maybe some of the treatments out there. There may be some new stuff coming out, especially for folks who suffer from asthma, which can be particularly difficult during asthma season. But before we get into some of that and take our first break, let's squeeze in a quick phone call. Let's go to Candy. Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. How are you today?
Good, Candy. How are you?
Fine. It's strange when I heard what you said, that you had this allergy. I get that every 2 to 3 years, and when I get it, I lose my voice. And you know what remedy I used this time?
What's that?
I didn't take any medications except what I did. I drank hot tea, which is green tea. I guess it soothes my throat, the cough to me. I drank plenty of water, and I took cough drops, and you would not believe it. My voice is back.
You sound great. How long ago did you lose your voice?
Last week.
Wow, you did awesome.
You could not hear me speak the first day and the second day. And I just started drinking green tea, and it came back.
Do you think if you had done that beforehand, do you think that would have prevented it, or this basically treated it? Because you obviously have allergies, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like I was telling you, it only comes 2 to 3 years. And it just catch me off guard.
Well, I'm going to start doing that. I did do the green tea, like she said. Now, what do you suspect was the main thing that helped her there?
Probably the heat from the tea that really sort of loosens up a lot of the secretions, and also some of those other over-the-counter remedies. When they reduce, cough can be sort of a self-perpetuating thing too. It really irritates the vocal cords, and if you can suppress that reaction, then you allow the vocal cords to heal up. So all those things, are helpful certainly at soothing and relieving symptoms from hoarseness and a cough.
It's just interesting, that worked for her. I mean, she still had, that would not have worked. I needed more beyond that. But I know when I get the allergies too and I lose my voice, it's not something like where you have a bad sore throat from a cold, where it really hurts when you swallow. That's when I know for sure that I probably have a cold, not an allergy, or the allergies turned into a cold somehow. But my doctor said too, Nick, in addition to this cortisone shot will bring the swelling down. Rest your voice, like you just said, and don't whisper. That's even harder on your vocal cords. And he said gargle with a mixture of, I think he said baking soda and salt in warm water. And that really seemed to help. It tastes awful, and you don't swallow it. But that, again, just brings down the swelling, soothes it. But really, aside from that, you just can't talk, which is really hard for me.
Especially for you.
Yeah, not just on the job. I talk too much. Let's take a call from Jewel. Jewel, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Nick. How are you?
Good, Jewel. How can we help you, my friend?
I've got a little information I'd like to pass on to you, if I may.
Sure.
I love your show and all your guests. Thank you for having such a beautiful variety of intelligent people there. And it's kind of like an oasis with all these other talk shows.
You're nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying that.
You're welcome, friend. I read this book. It's called Vermont, like the state of Vermont. Vermont folklore. It's written by a doctor. I'm sorry I can't recall the name, and it's been years since I've read it. But I know you talk about your bees and honey and such. I take a teaspoon every day.
That's awesome.
And it talks about the properties of apple cider vinegar, not distilled, but the dark tempered apple cider vinegar and honey. And he recommended 3 tablespoons of honey stirred in a half a glass of apple cider vinegar and the other half in water. Now, it ain't the most pleasant thing you can drink, I don't reckon, with that apple cider vinegar being pretty strong, but it's good for all kinds of aches and pains and allergy. And I wish I could find a copy. I'd send it to you.
Well, if you find it and the name of the author, let me know. But I have to tell you, I've heard the same thing. I go with the honey, and I want to see what the doctor thinks. Apple cider vinegar, by the way, Joel, I think is good for a lot of things. And you sound very healthy. I mean, all right, and he mentioned it, and I was going to bring it up at some point during the show. I have beehives, okay? I've got my own bees from my backyard, and I get the honey, and like him, I'll have a tablespoon or so a day. Now, I'm a believer that in some cases, and I want your take on this, honey that's local can maybe help, maybe minimize it. I have not found that local honey solves my allergies problem by any means. I don't think it can hurt. It sure tastes good. And it might help a little. What do you think?
There have actually been studies looking at this. This is a very common question in our office, or something we hear frequently. When people are allergic to pollens, they're allergic to wind-pollinated plants. So these are trees and grasses and weeds and such. Bee-pollinated plants are typically flowering plants. They don't produce a lot of pollen. The pollen doesn't become airborne, so it doesn't get in your respiratory lining to sensitize you. So the pollens that the bees are using, again, are typically not the ones that are causing respiratory symptoms. So even if there were that pollen left over in the honey and you were taking it, you wouldn't be getting much of the real pollen that's causing you allergies. They've also done, actually they did a randomized blinded study where they looked at local honey, pooled sort of processed honey, kind of American, big company honey, and also just flavored corn syrup. And they didn't tell people what they were giving them. And they looked at it during successive pollen seasons, and neither one was really better than the other. So, there's obviously, like you said, honey tastes good. There's nothing wrong with taking it.
There's a lot of other good things about pure raw honey that's not processed like the big stuff aside from that. But I'm with you, and that's really the first time I've heard it articulated as to why on the pollen. Because at first blush, people say, well, that makes sense. Bees make it with the pollen, and then you have that honey, and your body gets desensitized to the pollen. But you're absolutely right. Now, bees do grab some pollen from the tree pollen, there's sourwood honey and stuff like that, but in general, you're right, bees go after the flowering plants, and that's not the same stuff that has it in the air, correct?
Correct, that's correct.
And so, your take would be, I guess, if you want to put some of that honey in your green tea to make it taste good, and it can be soothing, right?
Sure, absolutely.
But not going to solve it.
Not going to solve the problem, but if it tastes good, if it soothes your throat, makes your local symptoms feel better, awesome.
All right, hey, you always got that placebo effect.
Good stuff,
too.
that's right.
You never know.
It really is a sugar pill, literally.
It is, and it tastes good. All right, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, we've talked about some of these, and I'll be glad to take some of your home remedies. Love to hear about that. When we come back, we'll get into more of the nuts and bolts of what we know really works for the doctor, and where you can go and how you go about addressing allergies. And we'll take more of your calls. If you're on hold, stay there. The number is 737-7587. Back with more right after this.